see some of these. I gotta figure out how to use these for props somehow.
These are his Reg letters.
These are my Reg letters from DC Org.
The letter Regs in DC.
In January. They're trying to get me to come join more.
I am not kidding.
They want me to take some courses, you know, talk about science or survival, you know.
He went into the DC Org. Arnie and Bob and I went into the DC Org, and he bought a book. That's it.
I'm thinking, you know, that I'm going to write back to him, you know, and I'm going to say, well, you know, I've been really busy lately. I just sold my business.
Whence.
I now have enough time
Look, you guys, I am putting.
It's the night before the conference begins, and the team is assembled to help put finishing touches on Bob's speech. Constant updates are given to the internet by means of the Scientology chat room.
Carmichael is here with 2 PRs, Pam Valinsky, and another I didn't know.
Tell them about the DA pack.
The Scientologist called the police over to the hotel and presented them with negative material about the folks from FactNet.
Given to the police. Ron Loomis and 3 Stanford police detectives sat down and went over it and got an education in cult awareness.
The team also stays in touch with friends.
Charlotte says hi.
Say hi to Charlotte for me.
Me too. Tell her Jesse hi too.
Yeah. Flatbread, I said hi.
I think your intros have some humor and a little defensive, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Since you have to talk about it, I guess you might as well bring it up right away. May I read it out loud when you have? Because sometimes when you hear someone else talking.
Are you going to read it out loud? Is that what
I'm
you're
going to read
saying?
it out loud. Just so
Bob, I want to show you what
plus if I talk, we don't have to hear Rod giving the IRC. Because that's just so negative. See, look at those guys. Aren't they crazy? Now they're in front of IRC, blowing their mind on the negativity and you just love God. You must be masochists over there. You just love the agony of being attacked by these IRS vermin, IRC vermin.
Who's Mad Cow?
I don't know. Some guy from Toronto, I think.
Anti-cult and counter-cult. Counter-cult is a lot softer term, because this is one thing that Scientology very much plays on, this whole this hate,
we're actually pro-freedom, we're not
hate group, but pro-freedom.
LA, Toronto, DC, any others?
I thought I read something that said anti-cult was,
Anti-cult's a guy in Sweden.
There's nobody interesting. Like AFF or, a secular group, but counter-cult usually refers to like Watchmen and religious organizations.
I think it's alliteration is my
Unless there's some meaning that it has for other people that.
I don't know. We'll have to
we
ask
can change
tomorrow
the
morning.
meaning.
I like the alliteration. Yeah, I know. We're in charge of the meaning.
We'll ask tomorrow
See, we
morning.
can redefine words. That's what Scientology does, right?
I've heard the guys at Wellspring use anti-cult and counter-cult both interchangeably.
Okay.
Yeah, we can ask.
So-called. Okay, the
We can ask Ron Loomis.
before.
Do you want Grady to read it out loud?
Yeah.
If he wants to.
Sometimes it's good to hear someone else read it for you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And,
Scientology dislikes the internet. It dislikes FactNet. It dislikes me, and it dislikes this conference. One of the major problems of Scientology is that its special brand of evil dislikes any attempt by anyone to expose the true criminal nature of this pernicious cult. I had a series of meetings with 2 of the top leaders of Scientology, Mike Ritter, the head of OSA, and Marty Rathbun, the head of RTC, and second in command of Scientology. Without boring you with the details of these meetings, I concluded by the third and last one that communicating on any rational level with these or any other Scientology leaders was impossible. Since these meetings, Scientology has stepped up its attacks on me, but I am not the kind of person who has tended to avoid confrontation. Yeah. Another laugh here. Let's put a little smiley in there. Let's see. But what has happened to me is only one example of the many tactics Scientology uses to silence its critics and generally to keep the outside world at bay. It is extremely important to realize that none of us outside the tightly controlled world of Scientology are ever allowed even a glimpse of the true face of Scientology. OSA personnel are assigned to attend conferences like this one to monitor the activities, report back to their seniors with a list of attendees, and if possible, harass and introvert Scientology critics, many of whom are here tonight. OSA, therefore, is the interfacing entity between the Scientology world and the real world. There is rarely even the slightest ripple in the mirror-still waters of Scientology's slick public image. To listen to any of the OSA operatives here tonight, one would think that they lived in a constant state of happiness and complete fulfillment. However, there is only one way that we can collect.
He's good. Maybe you should give this speech.
There's only one way that we can catch a glimpse of what life in Scientology is really like. Our avenue to this information is via the people who have been there. I decided to seek some of these people out and find out for myself what had happened to them.
Jesse.
This learning effort has required a large
Listen,
dose
this is
of
the
introspection on my part, and a willingness to empathize and appreciate the emotional devastation that has occurred to people at the hands of Scientology. I have gained incredibly valuable insights from my long discussions with both current and former high-level Scientologists.
I'm here. I'm with it.
Many of these people have become my good friends. They have an insight into the dark side of human nature that it would benefit all of us. Oh, all of us too comprehensive. You didn't miss a word.
Yeah, we missed a word there.
Jesse, get away from that stupid screen.
Now you guys
We
fuck
need to
around with
embrace
it all
them as
week, and
equals.
then I try it one
We'll
time.
let you see HBO all time tonight, okay? We need to embrace them as equals. They have
No,
literally...
start again, because Jesse was a little off to that IRC thing.
Where?
You missed the
Yeah,
good
that
part.
before, okay.
Just a second.
For my gay
Yeah,
incredible...
I have gained care.
I have gained incredibly valuable insights from my long discussions with both current and former high-level Scientologists. They have seen the face of pure evil. They have a powerful and frightening story to tell, and we must listen to them and understand the true nature of Scientology. Because reincarnation is part of Scientology cosmology, the only hope for escape from Scientology was death. And after they were reincarnated, they would wait a long time and have a chance to see what real life was like for a while before reporting back
For a
to
while.
us.
I swear to God, I can remember so
That
many
is so
people
fucking amazing.
I
having
know, that's exactly
conversations-
what we said.
You know, I was
Having conversations
so
with
hit
people-
by that, Jesse.
What you do is you get 21 years off.
Right, and you're
Every
supposed to
time you
report
come back,
in.
you get 21 years off, and then
Oh,
when you're
God.
21 on your 21st birthday, you have to report back to the
Report in.
sewer.
Oh,
So
shit.
we'd all sit around going, I'm not
reading.
going back
Keep
for
reading.
you.
Bobby Schaffner. Bobby Schaffner, the boy
Bobby
that's dead
Schaffner,
and,
the one
and
who
cut off his
died.
finger.
Yeah.
He said that he was going to be a race car driver over and over and kill himself to make
before
sure
his
the
21st
fuck he
birthday.
wouldn't come back
Could
when he
never
was
return.
20.
Yeah, we all used to try to figure out ways that we wouldn't
Just-
have to go back.
Oh, jeez.
Another woman has told me of a heartbreaking series of abortions they were forced to undergo on orders of senior management. Some of these women have had 4 and 5 abortions and finally escaped, and they became pregnant again and could not bear to abort another child. The scars of such experiences could never be erased. They come out of this nightmare terribly disoriented, psychologically, emotionally numb, and with no clear understanding of what has happened to them.
One fact has to be, or should be pointed out in relationship to all of this. Irrespective of everything that you're promised in Scientology, you end up having many times less than what you already had before any prior association. You go in there expecting to achieve certain things. Not only do you not achieve that,
But you get so much worse.
but you lose everything that you had.
You get so much worse.
Firstly, you lose the concept that you're even entitled to the basic civil rights.
The
that
basic human rights.
Basic human rights that everyone born and breathing in America
You don't even
has.
remember that.
It's not like they can go to a family. They can
Well,
go
and-
to a job.
and
They can
Jesse-
go to an inheritance. They can
And-
go to something.
And it's worse than that too, because it's not just that you lose. Because remember when I finally saw you after so many years, and you were driving the van, and you were just staring straight ahead, and I couldn't figure out what had happened to you. Remember?
Yeah.
And you know, you lose all your self-respect. You lose any sense of yourself. You don't even know what the
You
hell's
lose your
going
will
on.
to live.
You can't even figure out why you're there. You don't even remember what you're doing. You're totally
There's no rhyme or reason to life. You're just
At all.
waiting to fucking die. You're
yeah,
waiting to die.
I think, you know, let's go back to that part, you know, Jesse's experience in there and incorporate that in some way.
When you go up to a person and say, hey, Scientology is crazy, they've got body thetans, you know, and all this crazy shit, zim you, run away. Well, even though the person may accept that as true, they have nothing to run to.
Okay, read this next, because Rod will like this too. Then we'll get Rod's comments.
One Scientology critic on the internet, Christy Wachter of San Francisco,
Wachter.
wrote a letter, quote, interest in Scientology has never been higher, unquote. Ms. Wachter,
Wachter certainly got it right when she stated that,
she
yes.
stated that, yes, indeed, interest in Scientology has never been higher. Investigative reporters, government agencies, and concerned individuals are increasingly interested, this is funny, in the evidence of Scientology's criminal and deceptive acts. And Scientology may have become the most picketed church in the world, averaging a picket every day. Unquote. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I love that. That was great.
This is a source of truth on the nature of Scientology's former cult members, yet there is a prejudice against former cult members generally. that interferes with hearing what they have to say. We must overcome this prejudice if we ever to comprehend the evil that is germinating through the looking glass of this nightmare world happening right here in the United States. In this way, we can hope that the United States will take a stand against this evil cult. Scientology is a menace to our society and to our way of life.
All right, in closing, I'd like to quote from a review of Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health by Milton Saperstein, which was published in The Nation in 1950 and quoted by Richard Leiby in his article about the life and death of Lisa McPherson, December 6, 1998 article. Quote, "The real and to me inexcusable danger in Dianetics lies in its conception of the amoral, detached, 100% efficient mechanical man, superbly free-floating, unemotional, and unrelated to anything."
The ideal scene in Scientology is that you have no emotions whatsoever, that you don't have any feelings, that you are...
And you're spiritually dead.
That you do what Dianetics says. I mean, you know, you become
You become a
100%
computer.
Yeah.
detached, amoral.
Amoral. That
Walking
is
dead.
exactly,
Well, a zombie.
exactly,
A zombie.
A zombie.
exactly
That's what
it is.
Scientology wants. You know, generally, I mean, the whole theme of this is that Scientology is evil, and you know, people ought to really take this seriously. And we have warnings from the Boston Globe, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. You know, let's take this thing seriously. This is a real threatening organization. You have to be really informed about what they are, and by and large, a lot of people don't take the time to find out. They're not even willing to invest the effort necessary to find out what Scientology is. And yet we have warnings for a long time. We have warnings today. We have the German government who is following these guys like a hawk because they've been through the rise to power of a fascist regime, you know, under their own noses, which took place by purely democratic means. And you know, yeah, if you ask me where Scientology is on the scale of 1 to 100, which I remember last year about this time, Brian asked that question to Stacy, and Stacy said, you know, probably 2 or 3 out of 100 maybe. Well, the time to hit them is when they're at 2 or 3, not when they're at 40 on the tone scale. I don't mean the tone scale, but you know, 40 on the influence scale.
I love the way that speech is going, Bob. I really do.
You know, this talking about in the RPF about you know,
waiting to die.
You know, just looking forward to dying, so you can take some time off before you go back to work in Scientology when you come back again. I mean, God, I mean that's your dream. I can't tell you how powerful that was. You know, it was really.
Well, I wish you could like finish up with something like that because you know, just I mean, you want closure at the end, but also you know, something that's really.
Well, yeah, it does lack a little bit of punch there right at the end. You know, actually, we could sort of go back to that feeling of death. Of looking forward to death.
Just go out and go and take a look at a few Scientologists that work in the works. Look at their ashen fucking face, you know, when they're not putting on that mask.
Look at John Carmichael sitting here in the audience.
Look at these pathetic bastards that wear
Stand up, please.
wear the same clothes to every event.
Yeah, look at John Carmichael. Look at Maureen O'Keefe. You want to see what it looks like to be a Scientologist?
Right.
Look at those shining, smiling, happy faces that they're going to put on for you.
Right.
They're going to have their own conversation about this one day. They're going to be talking about how long they're going to stay away from Scientology after they die before they come back, and what they're going to have a chance to experience in life, and whether they want to go out and kill themselves in a race car so they don't have to actually go back and work for Scientology again, without another break of 20+ years.
Talking about llamas ready to jump off the fucking cliff, man.
You think that'd be good?
Yeah, them too. Them too. They're with the fucking llamas. They're all going over.
I like the idea of
It's just a leap fest. It's just a llamas, lemurs, monkeys. Everybody's over the fucking cliff.
Whatever.
Yeah, remember that's real life.
Robert Minton recently profiled on Dateline A&E in 2020. We'll talk about shooting Scientologists, getting arrested by... No. Sorry.
Before the internet, it was Scientology, the applied religious philosophy founded in 1950. And since the internet, it's become Scientology, the cult that believes in space aliens and Xenu. And that's really because of the availability of certain illegal advanced materials on the internet.
Don't look at Grady.
We should all
This is a historic event. The very fact that we are here as the first conference of a new cult awareness organization is an incredible milestone. And I want to start by asking you all to give the CULTInfo Board of Directors and yourselves a hand for the fact that we're all here. You need to be aware that this conference has been open to all who were interested in coming. No one was prevented from coming who expressed interest in participating. Not everyone at this conference shares your views or my views about totalistic groups. You need to be aware of that and consider that as you have individual conversations, particularly if you're going to be talking about your personal situation at a meal table or in the hallway or anywhere in the hotel.
On the internet, the Scientologists back in March of 1998 distributed software programs to Scientologists so that they could get out there and set up their own web page in the easy manner that Grady Ward has offered to do for anybody here who would like that to happen. However, one of the interesting facts about the Church of Scientology's special software that they gave to their members to set up these web pages was that it also installed onto their computer systems a censoring and filtering device that prohibited those members from the Church of Scientology to find any sites critical on the internet about Scientology. Now, this is all part of controlling information. Within their own organization, they censor what their members can actually see. It's like putting blinders on when you go onto this vast internet. Now, Scientology would like to tell everybody that, well, we just don't want all this in theta thrown on everybody, thrown on our members when they go out there on the internet. But my answer to that is this is purely an attempt by Scientology to continue to control the flow of information. They cannot control it in the real world, but within the world of Scientology, they do have that capacity by insisting that people use this special software to go out and roam the internet. And so I am very proud to have been censored at least 5 times in the Sinocitter software. And I am happy that no Scientologist can actually go out there and find information about me on the internet because a lot of it is not very colorful. Or it's too colorful.
I think it's actually a very colorful belief system. I think whenever a science fiction writer can come up with extragalactic aliens and inhabiting your body with body things that need to be audited off very expensively, I think that's a very colorful. It enriches our culture. It really does. It enriches our culture to have more mythology, and so I really support their position. No, I'm not being wry here. I mean, I really do think it is colorful. I mean, I don't think it's any more or less legitimate than other religions because I'm not a religious guy. But the illegality, the fraud, the concealing from the new members what is there, that's what I object to. That's all. If they were to somehow, and I don't think it's possible, but if somehow it could be changed so that they didn't, fraud was not part of their belief system, then I think the war of the internet would be over as far as Scientology is concerned.
Germany is doing everything they can to stop organizations like Scientology because they can recognize the characteristics of another Nazi party. Scientology is striving for a different society in which every non-Scientologist will be managed by the Scientology leaders of tomorrow with what they consider to be superior methods. Scientology wants to establish its own legal system that is binding upon everyone with Scientology standards but without any guarantee of the course of law, without the due process of law, without lawful and independent judges, and without lawful administration. Scientology disregards human rights and the principles of equality, since only cleared, non-aberrant Scientologists are entitled to enjoy rights.
Okay, boom, done. This is what a Scientology society would actually look like. This is what people living in a Scientology society would be like. Yet the U.S. government has yet to recognize this insidious danger. Boom.
To Germans.
Over to the
No,
Germans.
I disagree. The transition is that the Germans have intensively studied what Scientology, and this is what they see as a Scientology world, and then go into that.
Well, that's good too. You need to say that too, but you need to do a little bit of an end a denouement about this whole thing you just spent pages and pages talking about, the soul of a Scientologist, what a Scientologist is really like, the kind of damage that Scientology perpetrates on people. This is, you know,
Okay.
you need to do something like that.
Okay, fine, okay. I got you.
See what I mean?
Okay, sit down, let me finish reading.
Sorry,
That's good.
sorry. I'm doing this for a week.
Otherwise, we're never going to get anything done. Based upon such a careful analysis, can you see why it is that Germany has been wise enough to see Scientology for what it is? They have made the effort to understand it. In the United States, we have the Wall Street Journal on February 24th, 1998, questioning the methods used by Scientology to gain tax-exempt status. The journal suggested an auditing session for Scientology, starting out with a question as to how the vast sums of money spent by Scientology on litigation and to harass critics meets the IRS requirements for a 501c3 corporation to spend its funds for charitable purposes.
The internet needs to spearhead this educational effort. If people on the internet can really understand what this is, they can do a lot to get the United States government to listen to this danger.
Yeah,
But
the problem
other
is
thing
that the people on the internet are not able to explain it or understand it, and therefore cannot cause action to take place.
Right, and the other thing you need to do is, why hasn't the U.S. gone to the same trouble that Germany has gone to understand this, right? Our U.S. media has begun to address this issue, and our government needs to listen. Because, you know, you go into the U.S. isn't doing anything, and then the next thing you say is, the Wall Street Journal said this really cool thing, the New York Times said this really cool thing,
Yeah.
you know, blah, 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 the Boston Globe said this really cool thing, and it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, those are U.S. media. What do you mean the U.S. isn't doing anything? But what you mean is the U.S. government isn't doing anything. Despite the fact that our own media has now begun to
Yeah, but I'm not sure that, you know, that I'm not sure that I'm, you know, really asking the government to do anything. I don't believe much
well,
in
who are you
government.
asking to do? I mean, you're saying, look what Germany's doing. How come the U.S. can't? Yes, you are.
I guess.
You know, you are.
Okay.
I think we ought to do I think we ought to do the Germany thing. Then we ought to do Greece and Spain.
29 convicted in Milan. Patrick Vick, negligent, you know, involuntary homicide, conviction, leader of Scientology.
In France, yeah, etc.
You know, country after country, Canada, the largest libel award in history.
What about the U.S.?
Criminal conviction in Canada.
Where is the United States?
The whole attitude in the United States towards fringe religious movements, which they like to call themselves, and which the United States government more or less agrees with, has radically shifted in the last 25, 30 years. It's completely shifted.
To what?
It's shifted to a laissez-faire type approach.
Right, well, that's what you need to say. You need to say, hey, this laissez-faire attitude needs to stop. The U.S. government is buying the slick public image. You know, even our own media, even our own Wall Street Journal and New York Times.
They're not buying the slick public image.
The government is.
No, but not the media.
Sorry, not the media.
Even our media. No, I'm saying even our own media is starting to point this out.
Sorry, yeah, okay.
But, and that's basically, then boom, okay, cool.
Okay. Well,
The government's in an attached bathroom in the Oval Office.
why doesn't this committee
Adjourn.
and, you know, a small working group set up?
A task force. We're going to set up a small task force.
A task force of 20. Scientology dislikes the internet. It dislikes FactNet. It dislikes me, and it dislikes this conference. Scientology has virtually unlimited funds. They boast of spending $1 million a week to pay high-priced attorneys and private investigators to intimidate and harass critics and former members. Their cynicism and relentless vindictiveness knows no boundaries. And they will stop at nothing to destroy anyone who tries to stand in their way. In Greece last week, the press reported that Scientology had obtained military intelligence secrets from the Greek government following Greece's expulsion of Scientology. Following a statement by Scientology President Heber Jensch in Denmark last week that Scientology would be fully accepted in Europe during the next 5 to 10 years, Spanish officials the very next day, in their ongoing prosecution against Scientology, have requested 30 years of jail time for Mr. Jensch. Perhaps one day plus 30 years from now, Mr. Jenks will also be accepted in Europe. Scientology is both a menace to our society and to our way of life. In closing, I would like to quote from a review of the book Dianetics. The review was written by Milton Saperstein and published in The Nation in 1950. I first noticed this quote in the Washington Post on December the 6th, 1998, when Richard Leiby wrote about Lisa McPherson's life and death in Scientology. I was very taken by Saperstein's grasp of this evil 48 years ago. And I quote, "The real, and to me, the inexcusable danger in Dianetics lies in its conception of the amoral, detached, 100% efficient mechanical man, superbly free-floating, unemotional, and unrelated to anything. This is the authoritarian dream, a population of zombies, free to be manipulated by the great brains of the founder, the leaders of the inner manipulative clique. The entire countercult community exists to ensure that this message continues to be heard. I personally am proud to be a part of this movement and to count you as my friends. Thank you for attention to my remarks tonight."
I think did particularly well during the question.
People were
That's
quiet.
the ad-lib part.
Yeah.
That's the part where you can't.
People were quiet, noticed very quiet,
Yeah.
and they were very attentive. I think you really you got their attention. Oh, he's a joker. I was just, he's got to go bend a few spoons before bed every night.
There were a number of questions. And people that aren't interested don't ask questions.
Yeah.
I got you good.
It was, I think it was a good word for it was spellbound. The audience was spellbound.
Oh, some powerful stuff
It was
there.
very quiet. Very few people moved around or anything.
This
Everybody was attentive.
has really has not tried to learn Scientology.
Right.
I mean, I would come to these meetings when I was, in all that litigation, and people would walk away from me,
Right.
pretend they didn't see me,
I
because
know, blame the victim.
because I was, if they talk to me, maybe they get tainted too, maybe
Right,
they get
exactly.
sued too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's typical.
So I think you're absolutely right.
Take far more than 4 minutes to do a rebuttal about that. You know that? It'd take far more than 4 minutes.
Well, the first day of the conference was very successful, so much so that more Scientologists had to come in to enjoy the fun. Here's Matt Bracci from Washington, D.C. Matt was joined by this fellow who we think might be a private investigator. Of course, the person I enjoyed meeting the most was the ever-inquisitive Reverend John Carmichael.
I would be interested to know about a lot of things. I'd like to know about what Ralph Dorian revealed to Bob Minton about the Church of Scientology.
We all would like to know that.
Well, why don't we get Bob Minton to talk about it?
I'd like to know why.
We're talking about
it's
the
been-
internet, what he says on the internet. I'd like to know about that stuff,
Okay.
And I'd like to know about, I'd like to know about,
I'd like to know
I
why.
would like to know from Jesse Prince, for instance, whether he really does have an outstanding warrant for statutory rape in Illinois. I mean, these are questions I'd like to ask. But there's a lot of them, Mark. So let me ask.
I have a simple one.
You convince him to answer those questions in public.
I will ask.
We'll talk.
We'll show the tape to him. We'll try to get those answers for you. I just want to know why Priscilla Coates now has been introduced twice, and you have not given her a round of applause with the rest of the audience. I mean, you even dined with her yesterday at her own table. And
Well,
she was,
I sat down first on that one, and I can only say that since she was involved in the old can instrumentally, then she must have been involved in the abuses that the old Cult Awareness Network was involved in.
But wouldn't you like to just, thank her now officially for all the fine work she's done over the years?
What, for promoting deprogrammings and illegal activities? I hardly think that's something that anybody really wants to thank her for, but maybe there's somebody who wants to do that. Now, you're making these statements, and you're asking me these questions, and you're giving me a chance to talk in public.
Absolutely.
I don't think everybody wants to be involved. I don't think anybody wants to really talk about Jesse Prince's oral sex with...
Well, that's a good point. You mentioned that to me yesterday.
That.
I told everybody about that comment you told me yesterday.
Did you ask Jesse about it?
I talked
Ask
to everybody.
Jesse about it and see
Everybody hates Jesse now because you said that, and we've decided to disband FactNet
Did you ask Jesse about it?
Bob has thrown
I
away.
see. You didn't.
Yeah, Bob's
you didn't
given
ask.
up
You didn't
his,
even ask him. But see, you're probably assuming that I'm not telling the truth. But ask Jesse. Ask Bobby.
Okay.
Ask Bobby to ask Jesse.
All right.
Ask him, okay?
I gotta talk to you right now about the session coming right up.
I gotta talk to Arnie.
I think we should talk right now.
You do?
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
I really think so.
Wait, why?
Because they're doing stuff.
I know,
That they invaded the ex-members session for
yeah.
ex-members only,
Yeah, Frank
and
just
they have
told
a
me.
lawyer with them.
Frank just told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want you to know.
Well, I know that. I'm not doing
I didn't know
anything
that.
illegal. I know,
Well,
you know.
Frank's saying they're going to try
we
and
all
get thrown out.
know. What? Yeah.
Frank's saying they're going to try and get thrown out.
The Scientologists tried to videotape one of the seminars and had their videotape confiscated.
But nevertheless, the sponsoring organization has the right to establish rules of conduct at the conference, and one of our rules is no unauthorized tape recording.
Just as a rock concert is not allowed.
Exactly.
Which means, of course, they will try it today, and that's why they brought the attorney.
Well,
They can bring an attorney, so what?
the reason I brought the attorney, what happened is, to make a long story short, we finally persuaded her to give the tape to the police officer. He filed a report and took the tape to the police department. So they brought the lawyer. The lawyer first went up to the police officer with Maureen and said, "I'm her attorney and I want my client's tape back." And the police officer said, "This is not the time or the place. You got to go to the police department." Yeah. And I don't know if they did that or not. So that's why they brought the lawyer in. Well, now they got the lawyer here. They're going to do
Might as well use him. Yeah.
Maybe they'll try the world's record of putting a new organization out of business.
I wouldn't be surprised if we need more seats in here. I think this is going to be the best attended workshop yet.
It was certainly well attended by Scientologists. Here the Italian stallion joins Maureen O'Keefe.
He's Mark's so friendly.
I am friendly. I'm a nice fellow.
I'm Susan Morgan from Providence, Rhode Island. And I'm here because I just recently lost a case in Providence Superior Court against a dentist who fired me for refusing to take courses in Hubbard Management Technology.
Well, Scientologists cannot guarantee my children's safety. They cannot guarantee my mother's safety unless I just stop my speech, because my speech is damaging to them. And it probably was. They're not used to having people giving them the metaphorical finger over and over and over again. It encourages more people to think freely and to criticize freely, and they don't like that. That's why they have packed this meeting with at least, I think, 3, 4, 5 of them, more than any other group here, I'm sure, any other meeting. Because we are the enemies. The internet is their Vietnam. It's the Hydra with 20,000 heads. Well,
I was in the cult of Scientology for 16 years, and I had this indoctrination. And man, when I got on that computer and I saw Zemu, evil galactic overlord coming to your home soon, just what people were saying about it, and that people were even just saying anything about it at all was just so over the top for me. I literally sat in that cyber cafe with tears streaming down my face.
Some people may feel here in this room that we've been a little bit harsh towards the Church of Scientology. I would like you to know that there is a continuing, ongoing, and cordial relationship between us and most of the gentlemen in here. Not only that, the Church of Scientology in Washington, D.C. has written me in the last month 2 additional letters requesting that I buy more books, take some courses. It's all, we try to keep on a friendly basis.
Regarding the Scientologists in the room, what are they thinking and what are they doing?
I can only imagine that they're extremely uncomfortable and they're bitter by what they're hearing here, and they're upset because they feel like they're being trespassed against in some way. These are the people that we're actually trying to help, and they'll be helped someday. Someday they'll just wake up just like I did and say, "My God, what was I thinking?"
It was mentioned that there is an assumption in the public that celebrities are too smart to fall for certain things. Oh boy. John Travolta, Richard Chamberlain, Shirley MacLaine, Evel Knievel, Lee Merriweather. The list goes on forever and ever. These are celebrities, yes, but they're incredibly dense in certain directions. Earlier this evening, in the last half hour, I've told you about lots of claims that sound really silly. How about octopuses that gave rise to our existence on Earth, and we're on a prison planet here? That sounds pretty silly. Oh, that's Scientology, pardon me. That's a religion, too.
Well, the Trapdoor Spiders was as I say, a group of science fiction writers. I was an honorary member. And I attended many of their meetings. And at George O. Smith's house, both times I met Hubbard when he was there. Nobody liked him. In my opinion, Hubbard was an evil man, and a willfully evil man. He knew what he was doing. And I knew John W. Campbell very well, too. And Campbell fell for him. A.E. Van Volks.
It was amazing, yeah, for a while they did, yeah.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
And Campbell always claimed he was healed of his asthma, you know. And he still went around and used this inhaler all the time. You know, the Dianetics healed his asthma. Right. Oh well.
You invite these people here and then you get deluded by the same propaganda that you're putting out. People don't believe it.
You think the
They
cult
don't
awareness
believe this stuff
network-
outside of here.
Johnny, get your horn a going. Johnny, get your horn and blow it. Johnny, get your horn a going. Dee what, dee what, dee what. Johnny, get your horn a going. Never mind the corn we growing. Johnny, get your horn a going. Dee what, dee what, dee what.
That's false. That's a false thing to say.
That's fine.
You're interrupting a public assembly. That's your warning, sir. Please.
Academics don't believe this stuff. They think this is phony baloney. They do. And people who are in Scientology know that this sort of stuff is nonsense. That's why your propaganda doesn't lead to a mass exodus. It never has. And you guys have been going at it for years and years. Scientology keeps growing.
For the last 6 weeks before we finally blew, Vaughn was up at INT. And they were holding him up there. They wouldn't let him go. And I'm just sitting there. I'm putting on my Academy Award-winning performance as the freedom editor, the most dedicated freedom editor you have ever met. Because I knew that if I acted any other way, they would never let us see each other. And Mike Sutter was calling me every night at 3 a.m. How you doing? Did you hear from Vaughn today? How does he sound? Well, you know, do you think he's going to come through this? Oh, I'm sure he will, Mike. He's just sounding great. He's sounding great. I think he's going to come to his senses, you know, very soon. And I'm doing this whole thing just so they won't make me not see Vaughn. And meanwhile, they did an eval. And part of the handling of the eval was that all the Freedom Office staff were going to be promoted to OSINT. Well, in order to be in OSINT, you had to be INT-qualled. Well, to be INT-qualled, I couldn't be married to somebody who wasn't in the Sea Org. Well, if Vaughn was going to route out, then I had to divorce him. So every single day, Carol Martiniano was sitting down with me and saying, well, listen, Stacy, you know, I want you to think about this. I really do. I mean, I know your marriage is important to you, but you know, you have to understand that he's really holding you back. I mean, you are not going to be able to progress in Scientology as long as you're married to him, if he's not going to be in the Sea Org. Do you think he's going to route out or not? I'm sure that this is going to be handled. You know, I don't even think we ought to deal with this right now, because I'm sure it's going to all be fine. You know, I don't even want to get into it. Every day they're doing this. And I've got to get through my knots because I've got all these case problems. And the only way to deal with those are to get my knots, right, Jesse?
Right. Okay,
So-
now I'm just going to clear command with you.
So-
Now, what does this mean? Do you have overts against David Miscavige?
That means I'm going to the RPF.
Sound like this, and that's the needle hitting the metal.
Jesse, remember when you got to come in and ask me that question that I said DM was an SP? This was so horrible. What? I had already reported myself to ethics and said I will not work with David Miscavige anymore. I won't do it. He's a psychopath.
I don't even write it. I'm just like looking at my pen, twirling it. I looked at Stacey. I said, Stacey, put the cans down.
He did.
You need some sleep. Come on.
There are some people who believe that it was an imprudent act to shoot the shotgun and scare whoever was in that car. You know, my point...
Who's the some people?
The people in the car.
Who's the who, right?
retired.
Yeah, right. It was
Well, you know, let me put it this way. Lucy Morgan said, you know, I bet those boys in that car had more than just tracks in the field here.
Yeah, right.
I thought you shot at me.
Where were you?
I was walking down the street.
Let me tell you.
Hey, listen, I know when it goes boom, 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 but I know. And we went to each other. Do you hear the? You have to like understand this. I swear to God. I actually was kissing my pants. I swear to God. And that's like this guy is like, oh my God. Because I did. You know what I did? I knocked on your door, and you said hello. I said hello, and because I just said hello, and I said hello, and you said, "Oh, what do you want?"
No.
And then
You never. Gerard, you're the one who took the picture from up at the top of the garage.
Take the picture.
Who did?
My friend Chris.
Oh, okay. We thought it was you who was up there.
In the panel today?
No.
That's Aaron.
That was the first time. I swear that was the first time I ever knew you. Or anything like it. I swear to God, it was just a grassroots moment. That it was great. I swear.
Is that like the grassroots movement to sue can 50 slugs?
No, it's just a bunch of guys who just really getting fed up. With this, we're getting fed up.
That's kind of like, what's her name?
Could you
what's
stop?
the girl's name? Mary.
It's just getting.
What did you guys have?
Can you not film this? We're actually trying to talk about.
How many?
Okay, he's our cameraman.
He's a fact. He's in charge of
Go on the
FactNet Films.
internet. I don't know
The
if
FactNet
Gerard
Films
wants to be
division.
on the internet.
The FactNet Films division. He's been on the internet. You're all over the internet. He's all over the internet already. This is FactNet Films.
I think it was an excellent idea to rename CULTInfo the Leo J. Ryan Foundation. I think that's perfect. It's appropriate, and hundreds of different ways.
It was very informative, and I met a lot of wonderful people, and I have renewed faith in my fight.
So I think it was very informative for all of us concerned, and I hope something positive comes from this.
I think the conference was a good first step in regards to finally getting dialogue on the issue between the religious movements and the people who are promoting the theories, which I consider to be false. And I think that if this forum continues, that there can eventually come a conclusion which will be for the benefit of everybody involved.
I was able to meet counter groups of so many different stripes. There's evangelical Christians, Jewish counter cult groups, secular ones, and despite even internal dissent, such as the response to Randy's curmudgeon speech against all kinds of superstition, I think there's a lot in common that we can agree on, such as beliefs are probably sacrosanct, but methods, the abusive methods are not. And for me, as long as Scientology continues criminal acts, then we continue to fight them.
I loved it. It was great, extremely educational, and it was a bunch of fun. Tons of fun.
We had a chance to talk to all the other people in the movement and really get coordinate with them. And the thing that was nicest about it was that they were really glad that we were here. They really are proud of what FactNet is doing, and they're really glad that we're doing what we're doing with regard to Scientology.
For me, the most important thing that came out of this was the knowledge that the counter-cult and anti-cult community is a much tighter, closer-knit community than I ever realized. And I think that we established here beyond any reasonable doubt that FactNet fits just right into that community, and people are proud of the accomplishments that FactNet has already achieved on the internet through their dissemination of information, and we're going to keep trying to make it better. That's about it.